Good afternoon and good morning to you all. Welcome to the workshop Playful Contaminations. Thank you very much for being with us this morning or this afternoon, according to your time zone. My name is Barbara Donnici and I work for Fondazione Reggio Children, Centro Malaguzzi. A long name and a long history of a pedagogical approach. And we have the name, this approach has the name of a middle-sized town in northern Italy, Reggio Emilia, and our foundation also has the name of Centro Malaguzzi, the International Center Malaguzzi, which is a place, of course. And Malaguzzi was the pedagogista, psychologist, journalist, who has been for many years the most influential interpreter and representative of the Reggio Emilia approach. I have different roles in the foundation, and one of the main projects that I'm in charge of is Scintillae, Play and Learning in the Digital Age, a research project, which is also a physical space based in Reggio Emilia, and that we developed in collaboration with the Lego Foundation. I'm also a student in the PhD course in Reggio Childhood Studies, and today I will share something about my work in the first part of the presentation and something about my research in the second part of this workshop. Let's start from the title, Playful Contaminations. Of course, this is a provocation. I wanted to play a little bit with words. Playful contaminations in Italian would be contaminazioni giocose, contaminazioni ludiche. But I feel that the adjective in Italian, that they don't give the sense of what playful is. Playful, full of play. At the same time, contaminations here, of course, is thought in a positive way. If we think about contaminations, its etymology, well, it means touching, being in contact with something, mixing with heterogeneous elements. And in this sense, from my perspective, it loses the negative connotation and it takes a positive meaning of being in contact with different elements and so getting contaminated, which of course can be also something tricky. For when I mentioned the name of the foundation I work for, probably some of you who know about Reggio Emilia have immediately thought to the pedagogical experience of Reggio, to our municipal public preschool system, that in fact is the origin of this approach. And the origin is also in the investment that the Reggio Emilia did in preschool education, thanks to a bottom-up movement of citizens, of parents, mainly mostly women, and that met with the sensitivity of local administrators. For those who don't know the experience, you can see here how it developed historically. But I would like to mention that it did not start really in the 60s, but long before that, there was already the experience of Asilo del Popolo, this is how it was called, which was spontaneously established in the neighborhood of Reggio Emilia after World War II. This story is also told in a book called Brick by Brick, by the way, thinking about Lego. This timeline also contains the traces of the relationship between Reggio Emilia and the Lego Group first and the Lego Foundation after. The Reggio approach developed along the years towards a lifelong learning horizon. At first with the professional development of teachers locally and internationally, and after involving different school grades. Our foundation was created in 2012, thanks to the city of Reggio Emilia, some national and international founders, and the former volunteers organization born around the schools. It has a specific focus on research in the educational field. And if you if you think about the success that this experience had everywhere in the world, Reggio is in dialogue with many countries of the world, and Reggio-inspired schools are thousands and disseminated around the globe. What probably made Reggio so popular is also the fact that this is not a method, this is an approach. It means that there are some core values and that can be interpreted according to the context, which is very key, that can change everything. The idea of children who are citizens since birth, competent in learning and full of potential to be developed. The value of listening, a mutual listening, an active listening among peers, and also crossing generations. The idea that learning is more effective when happening in small groups. The importance of learning environments as an essential part of every educational context. The need for continuity to allow learning and research. The importance of documentation to reflect on learning processes. The key role of adults who are researchers and learners and have this important key role to create the condition for children to flourish. The idea of the 100 languages of children, this is a metaphor for the many different ways that we have to learn and to express ourselves. The concept of participation, which is necessary because education is a democratic process and must be open to discussion and negotiation. The presence of the atelier, they can have a special focus on a language, but should be open to all the others. And this attitude of research, which is natural in children and can be a strategy and a way for deeper learning. As I mentioned before, we developed this research project in collaboration with the Lego Foundation to explore the relationship. Scintillae is the name, to explore the relationship between play and learning in the digital age. And this is also a physical space, and you can see some photos here, which was designed as a very flexible space where every piece of furniture can be moved and rearranged in a different way in the space with a wide choice of materials, mainly regenerated scrap materials, Lego bricks of different kinds, digital equipment, instruments, and tools. At Scintillae, we combined the values of Reggio Emilia to the learning through play characteristics and the pedagogy of play that the Lego Foundation developed in collaboration with some important universities of the world, first of all, Harvard Project Zero. But before starting the collaboration, the first step was to create a ground for the joint work, and this lies in this shared definition of the relationship between play and learning as the two wings of a butterfly. You see, there's no duality, but they are together, and you can't do without one of them. You need the two of them. These are the areas of research of Scintillae. So you can see there's playful learning in non-formal context. That is the one of Scintillae, for example. At school, playful parenting as well. And also this idea of creativity in digital environments, not just for children, but for everyone. And here you can see, and I invite you to I'll leave you some time to read the research questions that we have, which of course are related to technology, to our vision of technology, but also to the need for empathic participation of children and adults, of human beings, even when we are talking about context of digital technology. And also about this, we have this question about the different way that children and adults approach analog and digital languages. And this is what we found out in this years of work. Scintillae was opened in 2019, and we continue to work according to these key features that we have identified. And I will ask you something about it after I explain them a little bit. So the idea of environment, a rich stimulating environment is key for the whole learning experience. The environment, when we say environment, we mean the physical, digital, and cultural space deeply influencing the learning process, because the quality of space is the quality of learning. An environment that should be flexible, open, and welcoming. The context on the other side is a wider concept, also including the social space, the environment and the social space, and should be seen as an integral part of the learning process, where children and adults are in a continuous dialogue and exchange among themselves and also with materials and technology. The area of this focus of learning as individuals and as a group. Starting from the subjectivity of people means taking into account their world, their way of interacting with others, their learning times, their past experience, their competencies. It means recognizing the diversity of competencies, intelligences, and the different languages. The strength of the group is the set of subjectivities, but there is not a sum. This is not a sum, but through collaboration, reasoning, hypotheses, the group gives life to new questions, to new opportunities. So it's an opportunity to grow and learn together. The playful attitude atmosphere, of course, is very important from our perspective. Human beings have this natural predisposition to curiosity and meaning making, and what we do is to try to follow this natural predisposition. So we take the responsibility not to predetermine the answers, for example, not to close the visions, but to be open to intuitions. The idea is to leave the group and individuals the freedom and time to try, to support them in their creative process, with an attitude of listening, as we said, of careful observation. Creativity is nurtured and cared for in a playful attitude. And at the base, there is a great trust in the ability of human beings to generate new responses to the challenges they're facing, innovation. Natural digital is a concept that has been discussed a lot from our side. We use the digital environment as an expressive material to manipulate, to reinvent, through a playful approach, which is an approach, of course, that admits trial and error, borrowing and exchanging knowledge. It is possible to promote a natural digital culture, meaning that it is something that does not oppose to our being nature, and the possibility to act it, to act it and interact with technologies, and do not just be passive and suffer it. The possibility to collaborate, to promote a complex and systemic vision of words and of things, but always with an eye to this new empathy that has to be nurtured again, and can grow through digital. An empathy that speaks to us about the future of relationships among humans and also between humans and machines. And then there's this idea of research approach. The research approach is a key element of any learning experience, where you contemplate multiple responses and multiple points of view, a strategy to engage in dialogue with the whole group, a welcoming attitude. A research experience must include unexpected and unforeseen events, because they're always generators of discoveries. The human being, as we said, is a researcher, is an explorer, a researcher by nature. And it's so interesting to see what happens when we're open to this possibility, to this research approach. And now I would like you to consider if any of these features is already part of your work, of what you do, or if it can be part in the future as you maybe find it interesting or useful in some way. Thank you. And as I shared with you at the beginning, I'm also a student of a PhD course in Reggio Childhood Studies, which was launched by our foundation and the University of Modena and Reggio Emilia. And my research focus is this one, in continuity with the work we do at Scintillae. How and when do educators shift their ways of thinking about learning? I mean, changing their perspective from a more traditional way of teaching to a playful approach to learning. And the reason why I chose this topic is founded in the studies that I'm doing, and in the view that if children should be at the center, adults have a key responsibility to work in order to construct for them the best possible ground. Context where children can flourish. And of course, this is something that comes from far away. There are many scholars and thinkers who have reflected, who have thought about this possibility. And also, luckily, in the last decades, the governments, the institutions, the national and global institutions are thinking about it. The opportunity for the research was the participation, our participation to Scuola Diffusa, which is a project developed by the city of Reggio Emilia, working with children from 6 to 14 years old, and an approach to education developed by the city of Reggio Emilia that gave the possibility to schools, starting from the pandemic, where this was a need, to move some classes out from the schools to other places. This became a program for the city, and is continuing still now. The classes have the possibility to go to school in cultural institutions, art institutions like the theater, for example, our own international center. And this is an occasion. I mentioned the education community in this slide because I'm convinced that some opportunities can really be enhanced if you are in an educating community. If you're not, there are things that you can't do alone, and it's important to have an environment that is good. And these are some figures regarding the number of people who took part in this project. And there was a multi-professional team composed of 6 teachers, 5 educators, 1 pedagogista, 1 atelierista of Scintillae, and myself, and of course children, 2 classes, 2 primary school classes. We didn't know teachers and we didn't know the educators, just some of them. So before starting the collaboration, we did meetings to know each other, to share about the work that we could have done together, and also about the research of Scintillae and this idea of playful approach to learning. We co-designed the proposal of activities for children, and also the first research questions with teachers were decided together. This was an important step because we wanted to make this opportunity part of their school curriculum, not like something, that you do for once and that's it, but something that could be part of their school time. And we also agreed to split the group of the class of children in smaller groups. They were groups of 8, 7 children each time. And the other agreement, the other idea was to document the whole work. This was more the role of educators. And so, as you can see, co-designing, co-conducting, because we were together with children when we welcomed them at Scintillae, and documenting. The teachers had been involved by the school principal, of course, but they were also teachers that were open to, get involved. We knew after the months of collaboration, when we finished and we made some consideration together, that this experience was like a roller coaster of emotions for teachers, because they started with a lot of enthusiasm, and then there was panic, and because it was a very different way to work with children. And also because there was this fear, there was this that there was someone there to teach them something, or to judge their work, which was exactly the opposite of our approach. But the idea of school, where you have to perform, where you will be evaluated, is so strong, was so strong for them, that at first they had this fear. The first thing that we agreed upon was to invite children to explore the space of Scintillae with free explorations. The question was, what do you think we research for at Scintillae? And this quote is an extract from the teachers' interviews that we had at the end of the work together. And she said, the most difficult time for me was when children explored freely, because they were so curious to explore. And she felt a little, like she wasn't able to the provocations of the space. Just to give you an idea of what happened, here you can see some of them, some of the children at the time. Last school year, we still we had to wear masks during school time, and you see here, these are some of the free explorations where children were so curious to understand the use of some unusual but also common objects, such as binoculars, such stethoscope, smartphone, magnifying glass. And as I said, there were some challenges. For example, since we worked a lot involving children, what we started involving children, asking them to be our co-researchers. And so we invited them, is asking them open-ended questions. And I remember teachers at some point asked me, when should we answer these questions? Because the questions that they were asking were so many. And then we decided to wait and see what would happen. And what happened was the children found their own answers, not our answers. We promoted collaboration over competition, not just look at your classmate is so good at this and that, but we didn't want to push children in a performance mode, no. We also encouraged them to express themselves, also when they were unsure, without a fear of making mistakes, also because mistakes were a possibility of something new, of a new path, of a new direction to take. We invited children to build, and with teachers to build on their experience, meeting after meeting, following their interest and curiosity. And in this way, the idea was to build a curriculum that was based on the specific interests of those particular children. And documentation, I have to say, documentation was the most challenging part. Documentation is not just taking pictures and notes of what's happening, because you should have in mind an observation question to start documenting. What should I document? It is not just about making nice pictures or a video, recording a video, taking notes. It's not just a collection of materials, but it is the joint reflection that the team can do thanks to those materials. The meta reading of what happened, analyzing what's behind. And as I said, this was very challenging for them. And you can see here quotes from one of the interviews, when at the beginning the teacher was very confused. She just tried to take the best photos that she could. But then when she saw how we were using documentation, she said that then they understood how documentation was important to start working differently. She finally found what she read in the books at university about having children at the center of the learning experience. And on the other side, what we were also trying to do was to create positive relationships among the work group, among peers in our case. There was, as I said, there was the assumption that there was someone who was there to teach the others how to do their work. But after the first meetings, it was clear that there was intention to collaborate, to work together. There was a respect for the professionality of everyone, and also the will to build something together, build the experience together. And the idea of listening, mutual listening, active listening, it's so important, not just with children, when we work with children, but also when we work with other adults. Because listening is a way to show care and trust, and it should be highly valued, especially among people working in the educational field. Because in our case, the idea of being evaluated, of performing well to get a good grade, this is a kind of obsession that haunted teachers, probably more than it did for the students, being an environment where there is no judgment, but the possibility to discuss, to understand together, to compare each other's views, which are equally important. This should be a chance offered to anyone, young or adults. And in this case, this is also another quote from the interviews, where the teacher said this, what happened when she realized that there was someone there to listen to her, listening, a real active listening, to then continue the work together, to start to as the base for the work that we wanted to do together. And I have a very short dialogue here in the following slides, which is about this idea of co-researching with children, giving agency to children. This is what happened with the older children. The class was the final class of a primary school, so they are 10, 11 years old. And we shared with them the goal of our research. And we gave them, the first time they arrived, a researcher badge. And they put their name on it. And every time they went, the meetings were finishing, we asked them to leave their badges there and to keep them the next time. And so every day they came, they had to wear their badge. And this is what happened once. Thomas was wearing his badge like, you know, it's time for transformation. It was like when Superman is getting ready to go into action. And so everybody was laughing. And I was asking him what happened, which was this transformation. And another classmate said, yes, when I arrived here, I suddenly transformed myself. And Thomas said, yes, we are researchers. And so I asked, who were you before coming in? And he said, children who want to play. And after, what happens after? We are always children who want to play. And so another classmate said, oh, we are common children, like, you know. But then the enthusiast of the group wanted to add something, his consideration, that is, no, we are children who came out of a wonderful place that has changed them forever. And so the first one who said, at first he said, we are common children, when hearing his classmate said, oh, we are smart children, he is like this place has transformed them, changed them to be from common children to smart children. Of course, they were smart even before coming to Scintillae. But here we can see that they were aware. They got this idea, and this was so important. Considering the context and the possibilities we shared with them. We only have a few minutes left. I just wanted to see before my conclusion if there's something in the chat. This idea of being not judgmental. That's it's very difficult because, of course, it's not something that comes naturally. You have to think a lot about it, and but it's a great opportunity because you feel free to share your opinion. You can be sincere, and you feel to really give a contribution to what's happening with the group of learners where you are in. And I would end with this quote. This quote is the part of the contamination process, because it came to me through Professor Mitch Resnick of the MIT Media Lab. But it comes from the work of Professor Carol Dweck, and through Dr. Natalie Rask and Professor Mitch Resnick came to me in a little different, perspective. We should focus on what we can improve, on making playful learning visible, on supporting the work of teachers to make learning more playful for children and for themselves. For themselves, many of them told me that this way of working was, in a way, relaxing for them. They didn't feel that they have to always have the right answer ready. They didn't feel the pressure of, answering all those questions. But they felt free to be open and to say, let's find together the answer. Let's work together on it. Let's look for new questions together. And so it's impossible that we keep the awareness that our learning never ends. We are lifelong learners, hopefully, playfully, playful learners. And this is the wish for all of you, for all of us. Thank you for spending this time with me.